Shaq gave some advice to Jason Kelce, which I feel as if, especially coming from him, is super important just to remember, just around your family and just around, what to prioritize in your life. Now, what exactly did Shaq say? Don't worry about it because we're gonna break it down and talk about it right now. All right, so let's get straight into it.
My advice to you is if you are going to retire,
Yes,
accept it. Enjoy your family, brother.
thank you.
I made a lot of dumb mistakes to where I lost my family and I didn't have anybody. That's not the case for you. So enjoy your beautiful wife, enjoy your beautiful kids, and never dwell on what we had.
That's excellent. And I've done videos on Shaq already, so you guys can check it out up here. There was one thing that Shaq had said previous before I guess this video kind of came out was he made a comment around like trusting women. And this is a comment that he made with Country Wayne as well, too. It was pretty much saying like don't open up to women. Like you open up to women, it's gonna be all bad, right? Um, it's interesting that he has this perspective. Again, Shaq is one of my most favorite people in the world. Like Shaq is like, you know, amazing guy. I'm wanted to break down this perspective specifically because he did, talk about like having a lack of trust for women, but then like he's given Jason Kelsey some advice on, how to retire, right? Because Shaq he's been retired for some time. Jason Kelsey is currently still active with his team, and it seems like he might be like looking to retire in quite maybe a short amount of time, not quite a bit of time, but in a short amount of time, right? Um, Shaq saying this, I feel like as men we don't have these type of conversations, which kind of raise my antennas a bit. Is like, okay, what type of conversations do men really have just around like retirement in sports and like being an athlete and especially being a not just any athlete but also like a Super Bowl athlete, winning championships, getting the rings and things of that nature. Just as Shaq, an all-star, a pretty prominent player, right? And it's been in the league for some time. Now, it's one thing to say like, and I always hear like this thing where it's like, okay, like living your glory days. You always see like, old heads and stuff like that still saying, oh, if I back in my day and things of that nature. I think Shaq makes a point here. He's like, you already done all the things. You've already done all the things. And I think, we see a lot of times with athletes more specifically that many times they still live in those moments, what I mean, even after being retired for some time. And sometimes that can be kind of harnessing or hindering the process of you actually being present, if you're living in the past, right? And not saying those to live in those past days or horrible days to live in, like especially if those are glorious days, those are glorious days to live in, right? It's one of those things where you may have been the best time of your life. What I mean? Especially, you think about how much you have to do to become an athlete, how much work you have to put in, from like such a young age. And now, like, you're at this, older age where you're like, man, I'm thinking about giving up everything I've worked for. Um, but even in sports, man, there's only so much you could do. You know what I mean? Like even Jason Kelsey's position, him being center and him being on the offensive line, that takes a lot. That takes a lot of commitment, not even mentally, but physically. Like your body can only take so much, right? So sometimes, I feel like athletes, and this is just my clinical perspective, sometimes it's hard to let that go. You know, um, Shaq actually having already lived that and actually going through the process now of thinking and reflecting on like the things that he lost and the things that he sacrificed to actually get to this point actually gives him, all rights to give advice to Jason Kelsey. You know what I mean? So I I most definitely commend Shaq for like just being vulnerable in this moment and actually giving him like some sound advice, which sounds like it's super helpful, especially in this moment. But we go continue and continue to check out uh what more he said about it.
What we had is what we got. You got the ring. People know who you are. Enjoy it. Because again, I was an idiot, and I've talked about it a long time. Lost my whole family. Been 100,000 square foot house by myself, and that's when I got. But again, the way I was raised, up, yeah, man up, yeah, deal with it. But so that's my advice to you.
So again, Shaq, I appreciate Shaq giving that sound advice to Jason Kelce. I feel like a lot of athletes need to hear more of this, especially men athletes. Like need to hear more of this, right? Sometimes you focus just more so on like how to get there, but like what's the aftercare look like? What's the aftercare once you hit your pinnacles, once you get in the rings, once you're really well known and established in your career and who you are, and you've done all the things, right? Sometimes this may look like a little grieving process for men, but in all, grieving isn't just again like a death of somebody, but it's like literally a loss. The grieving the loss, processing of your identity, who you are. And men, we usually hone in on those type of identities, right? So to lose that can be tough, right? So I appreciate Shaq just even saying like, hey, I lost probably the most important thing to him, which is his family, right? You would think like, okay, I have all these things, accolades, and you know all these accomplishments, but to lose your family, is it worth it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Right. So I appreciate Shaq, giving this advice to Jason Kelce. Um, Let me know what you guys think in the comments, where if Shaq was giving some sound advice or, if you guys agree or disagree. I appreciate all you guys for tapping in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all those great things to keep these videos in the algorithm, keep it flowing and going. All right. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. My name is Terrence Stewart. Y'all take care. Peace.